What if I told you the fastest way to get your abs back at 40 is to go slow? I'm 46. I went from 190 to 167. I dropped my waistline from 36 inches to 29 inches, and I have visible abs for the first time in years. But here's the thing, this was the easiest cut I've ever done, and also I took a full year to do it. But in that full year, I ate pizza, ice cream, I drank alcohol, and never once did I feel like I was suffering. So if you're over 40 and you're tired of diets and weight loss programs that just don't stick, this is a plan that actually works. I'm going to walk you through how I did it, the diet, the training, everything. And I'll also reveal the one habit that if you adopt this in your life, it will make your fat loss go on autopilot. Now, if you want to get down to the diet, the training, and everything, you can just skip this part. But if you're wondering how a fitness influencer lets his body get over 20% body fat, well, let me tell you, when my second daughter was born, my life went to shit. My sleep got destroyed. I'm talking about months of broken sleep running on empty. Now, I was still going to the gym, but every time I stepped on the scale, the weight kept on creeping up. And on top of that, my testosterone tanked, my recovery was f***ed, and all those little bad habits that I thought I got rid of, they caught up with me. One morning, I stepped on the scale, and lo and behold, I saw 190 plus pounds staring back at me, and I thought, this, things have to change. But here's what I didn't do. I didn't crash diet my way out of it. I didn't sign up for some 90-day challenge. I decided that I was going to take as long as it takes. And that decision changed everything. So not a lot of people want to hear this, but why does going slow actually work in your favor? Well, there's two reasons, and they're backed by science. First, your hormones need to catch up. When you lose weight too fast, your body starts fighting back against you. You've got hormones like leptin and ghrelin that regulate hunger and fullness. And when you crash diet, these hormones get thrown off. This makes you hungry all the time. And even if you are done eating a meal, there's something that makes you feel like you're not satisfied. But when you lose weight slowly, you allow your hormones to stabilize and regulate. And this helps you by not having your body fight you every step of the way. Second, there is this thing that's called the body weight set point theory. And it's the reason why so many people lose weight and just yo-yo back to their original weight and then some. So think of your body like a thermostat, and physiologically and psychologically, it's comfortable at a certain weight. So when you try to drop 20 pounds in 6 weeks, your body starts freaking out. It thinks something's wrong. So it does everything it can to get you back to that set point. But when you allow yourself to get lean slowly, and I'm talking months, maybe even over a year, your body and mind have time to adjust. And I'm gonna get into this later at the end of the video and why that's so important. What we wanna do is we want the new weight and the new leanness level to become your new normal. And this is why most people get it wrong. They try to do everything fast. They do 5-day challenges, 6-week challenges. And even if they get results, they lose them just as fast. And also, the stats back this up as well. Around 80 to 90% of people who lose weight end up putting it back on. And most of the times, it's because they tried to do it as fast as possible. So this is not a willpower problem, it's a timeline problem. And just a few weeks ago, I was attending a mastermind where a lot of my old friends were there. We hadn't seen each other in a very long time. And I'm not gonna lie, we let loose.
To the break of dawn, yo!
We went out, we ate, we drank, and we had a damn great time. And after that trip, because of this long time horizon that I gave myself, after the trip, my weight kept on dropping. And this is what happens when you build a real foundation. And I will tell you, you can still live your life and still make progress. It is not a binary thing. All right, time to get into how I did it. Let's start with the nutrition. So the very first thing when you are thinking about losing weight and getting lean in the first place is setting up what I call the right nutrition architecture. This means a couple things. Number one, eating foods on a schedule that actually fits your lifestyle and also fits your circadian rhythms. It also means eating the right foods as well. So the schedule I put myself on was 1 to 2 hours after I wake up. Usually it's around 6:30. I will have my first meal of the day. And this meal is such a game changer for getting lean. I'm gonna get into it in about 30 seconds. After that meal, around 12 or 1 p.m., I'm having my second meal. After that meal, I'm making sure that I'm having my final meal around 5 to 6 p.m., which is going to be around 3 to 5 hours before I go to sleep. Now, eating 1 to 2 hours upon waking, I think, is one of the most important things to do because it helps you regulate your appetite for later. There have been so many times I see people skipping breakfast and they have uncontrollable eating at night. And this actually brings me to the one habit that if you implement in your life, it puts fat loss on autopilot. And for years, the thing that sabotaged me was nighttime eating. Every single time, I'd be good all day, and then when it came to night, all bets are off. So I set one rule for myself, which was after 6 p.m., I am fasting. Now, again, this fits my schedule. For you, you want to be having that hard stop at least 3 to 5 hours before you go to sleep. And here's the key, okay? You're not going to frame it as like, at 6 p.m., I'm going to stop eating. Because anytime that you tell your mind that you're going to stop doing something, guess what it wants to do? It wants to go do it. Instead, I told myself my fasting period starts at 6 p.m. And this one little shift unlocked everything. Because if there's anything you know about nighttime eating, it messes with your sleep. It also messes with your digestion. And also, it just becomes this thing where you have a never ending buffet of things that you're putting into your body. Because any decision that we make with our food, especially when it comes to night, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And honestly, if nighttime eating was your thing, like drop a comment below because I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one here. Now let's talk about what I actually ate. And how I ate followed what I call the 90-10 rule. I get 90% of my calories from whole, single ingredient, nutrient-dense sources, and 10% from whatever the I want. This meant that popcorn, ice cream, even alcohol, they were all on the table as long as they were part of that 10%. And this whole 90-10 framework works in a couple of ways. So it could work daily, where 90% of your calories are going to be whole, single ingredient, nutrient-dense sources. And the 10%, again, whatever you want. Or it could look weekly, where 90% of your meals are going to be whole, single ingredient, nutrient dense, and then 10% is going to be the meal that is not. And this is how I incorporated pizza, burgers, ice cream, candies, alcohol, old fashions. And I basically ate this all the way down, and it's made things so sustainable for me that I was able to do all this stuff while getting abs. Now, there are two other things that I made sure to hit when it came to my nutrition, which were protein and fiber. Now, for protein, I was making sure I was getting a floor of about 0.7 grams per pound of body weight and a ceiling of about 1 gram per pound of body weight. And when it came to fiber, I was making sure I was getting at least 25 to 35 grams every single day. Both of these are going to help you regulate your appetite. They're going to be great. They're going to keep you full. With protein, obviously, if you're cutting, you need to keep your muscle. And you also don't want to look like a bag of milk by the time you cut down, which is what a lot of people do when they cut down and they just like don't even think about keeping the muscle they have. And then they just look flat. And with fiber, the whole game of this like nutrition thing, especially when you're cutting, is you want to keep yourself as full as possible. If you see the nutrition architecture that I've set up, a lot of it is actually based on keeping you full and keeping you satiated. And now I want to tell you like one meal that I ate almost every single morning, and it's what I call lean body glop. And I know I need a better name for this. I should be calling it the super fat burning, lean body, hyper metabolism super breakfast. But seriously, every time that I make it, it literally just looks like glop. But don't let that deter you because it looks horrible, but it actually tastes delicious. And here's the recipe that I used, which was 250 grams of low to non-fat Greek yogurt, 100 grams of frozen fruit, 1 teaspoon of psyllium husk, and 1 to 2 scoops of whey protein powder. And I would actually make this at the end of the night so I can just go into the fridge, get my glop, put it on my table, and start eating it. Also, because I don't like to eat frozen fruits, the frozen fruits have already melted by the time I got it, so that makes the fruits a little bit more digestible. And this is actually the perfect breakfast for me because I don't necessarily like eating breakfast, but I know I have to do it to regulate my appetite. So it's protein, it's fiber, it's filling, and it's on the go. It's perfect for me. By the way, this meal and the meal plan I'm talking about, and also the workouts I'm going to be talking about and everything we're talking about in this video, I actually put it in a protocol and it's a free guide. And I'm going to put the link in the description below and also the first comment. So you can just download this and you can have it. And by the way, I have to mention that I did all this while I was traveling. So for the past 4 months, I've been on the road with my family. Right now, I'm actually doing this from Mexico. We traveled from Bangkok to Da Nang to Ho Chi Minh to Hong Kong and now here in Mexico. All of them, different food options, different situations. So when I was traveling, I made sure to get food delivery or actually to get grocery delivery for all the stuff that I need, lean body glop. And I would also look at meal prep options that they would have, and especially in the major cities, because you don't realize like how cost effective getting meal prep can be, especially getting high protein meal prep. It's actually way better than trying to go on Uber Eats or DoorDash. Now, for tracking my food, I actually built an AI coach that I used every single day. It tracked my calories, my protein, my fiber, and it literally acted as a coach, keeping me accountable and also helping me work through all my cravings and all the times that I wanted to go outside of the diet when I shouldn't have. And this was the biggest contributor to making this the easiest cut that I've ever been on. It was like having me with 20 years experience and also a PhD in behavior change inside of my pocket and calling me out and also holding me accountable. I remember there was one time I was out for dinner and, I had one old fashioned. It was great. And I was thinking, you know what? I'm feeling a little toasty right now. I think I want to have like another one. So I actually ran it by my AI nutrition coach and it actually asked me a couple of questions to the point where I looked back and I was like, you know what? I'm going to skip that old fashioned. Thanks for helping me out. And I didn't just do it for that. I did it for instances where I wanted to have pizza even after I was done dinner. I basically used it to just quell my food noise. And low-key having that in my pocket made this the easiest cut ever because you actually have someone to run your decisions by. And right now we're working on all the bugs and all that kind of stuff with it. It's not ready for public consumption, but when it is, I will let you know. Let's talk about training. And again, I want to give you exactly what I did. Now, here's the thing. After 40, I actually find that training with less volume and higher intensity is way better, especially when you're on a cut. And here's what I mean. When I used to do high volume programs, especially when cutting, it would do two things for me. It would actually ruin my recovery. It would make me feel sore every single day. The other thing was I would not look forward to going to the gym whatsoever. But when I dropped the volume and I focused on intensity and getting stronger inside the gym, everything changed. My recovery felt better, and also I looked forward to going to the gym 80% of the time. And the method I used was something called the 2S method, and I'm going to be coming out with a video on this probably after this one. So the main philosophy is every time I'm going to the gym, I'm doing either more reps or I am doing more weight. This is just the basic form of progressive overload. Every working set, I'm taking it as close to failure as I can. And this is where growth happens. And for some muscles, like the ones I want to pop, especially like my shoulders, because I want to have that V-shaped taper, I did something that was called myo reps. Specifically, I use these for my lat raises and also my reverse flies. So myo reps is a form of rest pause training, and I find that it is fantastic for accessory movements like the ones I mentioned. And basically you start with an activation set of 12 to 15 reps, and then afterwards you wait about 3 to 5 breaths, and then you do 4 to 6 reps, and you do that for a period of 3 to 4 more sets. Same weight. And if you want to know the exact workout I did, you can check it out right over here. Now, the thing I realized with a lot of people who don't make progress in the gym is they go to the gym and they keep on changing things. I remember I went to the gym one day and I saw this guy doing 275 pounds on the bench press. This guy must have been like 50, 60 years old. And me being the introverted extrovert, being curious that I am, I was just like, how did you get so strong? And he said something that was so simple and so profound. He's like, every single session, I go to the gym and I try to add more weight or more reps. And I did that for the past 15 years. I know. Simple, but profound. And I will say that I basically used this workout for a full year and just focused on getting stronger in these movements. And yes, some of the exercises did change depending on what I wanted to do, but for the most part, I just focused on getting stronger in them and or doing more volume. And all I needed was 2 sets. That's the beauty of it. All right, so training and diet get all the attention, but the other 2 levers that don't get enough love are sleep and movement. So let's start on sleep first. I made sure I had the same sleep and wake times and I was getting 8 hours, super basic. And I talked about my nighttime routine that you can check out over here. I have done everything to optimize my sleep wherever I am, and you will get all of the secrets in that video. Now, the other thing I made sure I got enough of was sun exposure. And there's a lot of research on this where getting sun exposure is going to help you sleep better, but also sun exposure for me, and also for the vast majority of people, it actually helps them regulate their appetite and hunger. And in some studies, they actually showed that when you get enough sun exposure and enough vitamin D, it helps you turn that energy into muscle as opposed to storing it as fat. Now, if you're not in a sunny place like I am, like in Mexico right now, what you can do is take vitamin D3 and K2. And in general, you want to get blood work done to see if you are deficient in vitamin D in the first place. Highly recommend that because I think it's around 75% of people in the Western Hemisphere who are vitamin D deficient. Now let's talk about movement. And my target was 8,000 to 10,000 steps per day. And here's something interesting where I actually stopped tracking my steps. It was just by accident because you can check out in this video over here of the top lessons that I learned from 2025. When I went surfing, my Apple Watch crapped out on me and I didn't want to get myself another wearable. And paradoxically, that just made me move more. I didn't need a watch to tell me how many steps I got. I actually just made it a routine to get steps in the first place. And because of all the data that I had tracked, I knew like how many steps I would get by doing like a 15-minute or 30-minute walk. Now, what helped me, especially when I was traveling, is like I was traveling to places that were very walkable. But if I was back in my hometown and I didn't have access and it was winter and it was cold as what I would do is I would walk on my under the desk treadmill. I would turn every single dead activity into a walking activity. And I've done it so many times that I cannot do it anymore, because the more steps that you get throughout the day, the less stressed you're going to be. And also, you're going to have more than enough energy to give that to your family at the end of a workday. Now, this is a part that not a lot of people think about, but they should, which is KPI tracking. What are the main things that we tracked to make sure that we were headed in the right direction? So the main ones for me, kept it simple, were my daily weight, getting a 7-day average. I did a weekly waistline measurement, and also tracking my workouts inside the gym, and also obviously tracking my calories and macros using my AI coach app. Now, this might seem a little obsessive to some people, but really it's like, who cares what the normal person thinks, really? Because I took with myself this travel scale. This is small enough to hold in my backpack or to put in my luggage. And whenever you're on a journey of trying to improve some area of your life, you need one specific KPI to track to make sure that you are headed in that direction. So if you are trying to get better at business, you would obviously track revenue, sales, conversions, all that kind of stuff. If you're trying to lose weight and lean out and get cut, you have to track your weight. This is actually like the biggest disconnect I see with a lot of like the business owners that I help in our coaching program, is the fact that they will track like every single metric inside of their business and they say like health is a priority, but they will not even like weigh themselves on a regular basis.
What?
But here's the thing that matters most when you weigh yourself daily. So when you weigh yourself every single day, you will see fluctuations. And there have been so many times where the diet that I'm eating is like a little bit low carb. I don't stay away from carbs, I just eat like a little low carb. And when I would eat a bowl of pho, if you know anything about eating pho, it has a lot of rice noodles, a lot of carbs. So even if the calories are matched, what's going to happen is if you're eating low carb and then you eat high carb one day, you're going to step on the scale and you're probably going to be anywhere between 3 to 5 pounds heavier just in water. And that's the reason for these daily weigh-ins, because you're able to see these fluctuations and you're actually able to surf with them a little bit. You know what's going to come. And this actually gave me the biggest education of all, because I understand that when calories are matched, you're just going to keep on getting lean. And these little fluctuations, if you're eating more carbs or less carbs, they actually don't really matter. But you would not know that unless you have the data. And also, when you're doing this as long as I have, you're not going to be perfect with your diet. You're going to have some step backs. And sometimes you won't even see your weight change in weeks, sometimes even months. And that's totally fine. And it was because I had the mantra, as long as it takes. As long as I'm trending in the right direction, that's all that matters. And if I'm trending in the opposite direction, I can make adjustments, and that's cool too. Now, this is the knot that ties the bow together. And it's probably the most important aspect to this whole thing. When you give yourself a long enough time horizon to get yourself in the best shape possible, you allow the process of your identity to change. So again, I didn't treat this as a 90-day challenge. I think that approach is absolutely broken, because you can't change who you are in 90 days. I took this as a way to evolve my identity. And as your body changes, your mind must change too. And for our coaching clients, like, we have this thing that's called Identity University, where we take you through the process of changing your identity. Everything from creating an archetype to doing your perfect day to setting up the visualizations, all of that stuff to mold the self-image that's going to keep this result solid. And along with this whole thing, I kept on coming back to this question, which was, what would the leanest, healthiest version of Dan do in this situation? And that was my compass. And most people think if I do the thing enough times, I'm just going to change into the person that I need to change into. And I'm sorry, but that's ass backwards. It's actually be, do, have. You have to be the person first, then you do the things that that person would do, and then you have the outcomes they attract. And here's the harsh reality of this whole thing, where it's probably going to take you anywhere between 6 months to a year to really get yourself into the shape that you want to get into. It's going to take you another year to lock in that identity and lifestyle where it becomes automatic. And this is not about discipline, like Jocko would say. This is about changing into a person who attracts the outcomes naturally as a result of who they are. And I'm going to do an entire video breaking down the identity shifting process that we use, so stick around. We're going to launch that within probably the next 2 months. But here's the bottom line. The fastest way to get lean at 40 is to go slow. Give yourself as long as it takes. Let your hormones, your psychology, and your identity catch up. And again, if you want the full system, everything that we just talked about, free guide down below. You can click that link, get it for free. And my challenge to you is to allow yourself the time to make these changes. Give yourself permission to take as long as it takes. And I swear to you, you will be surprised because you overestimate what you can do in 6 weeks and underestimate what you can do in 365 days.